With that, we come to the last session, which everybody clearly has been eagerly waiting for. Some days are worse than other days. Even small things spiral out. You have mountains to move, but no energy to lift a finger. Dark gloom descends, you almost give up, you almost cave in, but you know you can't. This is not a race you drop out of. It's life, and you don't really have a choice. To introduce the next session, I'm going to invite on stage Mr. C.P. Gurnani, Chair, WCIT and ILF, to open the session, and then hand it over to Rishad, who's going to be conducting the conversation. So, great things take time. Ladies and gentlemen, the finale session of WCIT NILF. And I'm going to invite on stage C.P. Gurnani. Chair WCIT NILF to open the session. And hand it over to Rishad, who's going to continue with the fireside chat and conversation. Please put your hands together for the grand finale segment of WCIT NILF. CP, the stage is all yours.
All right, guys. The flight has arrived. And she's successfully inside the conference room. And since you're such a good audience, frankly, not much of gymnastics was done. So both Rishad and I had a bit of a chat with our next speaker. You can see that there is a bit of a commotion. And you know that some of the pictures that got shared on one of the private WhatsApp groups, RC was the one who actually welcomed her. Is that correct, RC? Yeah, I mean, bold is beautiful. So guys, again, I'm not going to take too much of time, and the way we want to do it is, as you can see, there are two names out here, Rishad Premji and Deepika Padukone. I have a confession to make. We have been trying to get Deepika Padukone to address our leadership forum. We represent, NASSCOM represents about 4 million people, 4 million directly people engaged in IT and IT-enabled services. And last year, I had requested my chairman, Anand Mahendra, to talk to Deepika and to try and get her. But now, all of you, since you read the same newspapers, you know she was very, very busy. And one of the main reasons why I was very keen to get her to talk to all of us is that in my own family, my sister went through a symptom which is called postpartum, which is really post her delivery, post her pregnancy. She went into a bit of a depression. And, post-pregnancy, little bit of a behavioral change. Most of us in the family were actually hiding it. And till we came it took us almost 2 years to actually go and see a proper doctor. And I'm sure that as you hear it from Deepika, you would know that this symptom of not talking about it, physical illness, you go and report immediately, headache, or whatever that physical illness is, and most of us not addressing this issue. So why we in NASSCOM were very keen to get Deepika Padukone out here was that she's the first one who talked about, during her active career, she talked about the mental illness. And this year, our Vice Chairman, Rishad Premji, was able to talk to Deepika's sister, Anisha, and as you know, Rishad is going to take over as the chairman from 1st of April. I think he's already started his innings pretty well. So, guys, give a big hand to Rishad. Again, I'm sure as you talk to Deepika, as you talk and as Rishad asks questions, you will realize some of it may be impacting your family, your friends, and we do want, all 4 million of us, members of NASSCOM, directly or indirectly, want to be aware that if Deepika has the guts to talk about it, why will we not talk about it and why will we not address it? And to continue with this conversation, I'm going to request Rishad to escort Deepika onto the stage. Hey guys, you could do a little better. Big hand!
So thank you for, is this on? Thank you CP for that, and thank you for sharing your story. And thank you for all of you, wow, this is a packed room, for being here for this closing plenary session. And thank you most importantly to Deepika for being here to share her story. So, I'm not going to introduce the celebrated actor Deepika Padukone, but I am going to embarrass her and take the liberty of introducing Deepika, who's the evangelist and the champion of mental health. As many of you know, Deepika, at the peak of her career in 2014, was diagnosed with clinical depression and underwent her own personal struggle with the illness. With the help of counseling and most importantly with medication, she was able to overcome it. During this journey, she realized how widespread the disease is in India and the myths and stigmas associated with depression in India. She very courageously, might I add, in 2015 in January came out to speak about the issue to try and break taboos about depression and mental illness in India. In October 2015, she launched the Live, Love, Laugh Foundation, a not-for-profit that aims to destigmatize mental illness and champion the cause of mental health awareness with an emphasis on stress, anxiety, and depression. So, Deepika, welcome again.
Thank you.
We want to start off with a short video from the foundation. So if we can have the video, please, as a start.
Chirag.
Hey.
Hi.
Morning.
Breakfast, is it?
Sissy. Fresh.
Very good. Very good.
I'm going to stop throwing these parties, I swear. Super boring for me. Huh? Somebody likes Thai, somebody doesn't like Indian. I'm like, it's endless, really. How's it going with you?
It's good. Going good.
Love this bhai. मन नहीं करता है ऑफिस जाने का. Seriously.
Look, I know you're not fine. I know something's bothering you, okay? You can talk
I'm
to
fine.
me.
You okay, no?
Yeah,
Mother, there's something going on.
कुछ भी नहीं है, ऐसा तो कुछ भी नहीं है। गाड़ी क्यों रोक रहा है?
Divya?
Yeah?
What are you not telling me?
Nothing?
What is it?
Tomboys.
Like, manly girls.
You're not a manly girl.
Really?
क्या चल रहा है अंदर? मुझे दिख रहा है?
You can talk to me, Chirag.
Are you okay?
बता दे। बताने से दिल हल्का होता है।
Talk to me. There's nothing to talk about. Can't talk about this anymore. What's going on? What's going on? What's up? What's up? It's not rude. What's up? What's up? What's going on?
डिप्रेशन दबे पांव आकर बैठ जाता है हमारे अंदर, चुपचाप अंधेरे किसी कोने में। चलो उसे जाने, पहचाने। हल्की सी भी कोई नजर छुपाए तो देखें दोबारा, थोड़ा सा भी कोई डगमगाए तो थामे दोबारा, जरा सा भी कुछ सही न लगे तो पूछें दोबारा। To know more, log on to the livelovelaughfoundation.org. परवाह है तो दोबारा पूछो।
So that's a very powerful video, Deepika, and you combine that with the fact that 50 million people in India suffer from depression, and 1 in 2 people at some point in their life will suffer from depression. So almost every one of us here will know someone who's a friend, a relative, a colleague who suffers from depression. What could we do? How could we identify them? How could we help, given that we know people or likely to know people?
I think to begin with, I think to start as people, I think to start recognizing and understanding what depression really is. I understand that it might not be easy for someone to identify the symptoms on a surface level, but I'll give you my example. In 2014, my parents had come to see me. They were leaving, they'd come to see me and then they were heading back to Bangalore. And, I kept hovering around my mother, and, they were packing, they were getting ready to leave. And, my mother kind of sensed something and she said, is everything okay? And I broke down. And I had been having a lot of these episodes even before that, but it's just that I was fortunate to have her around at that point to recognize that. So she asked me all kinds of questions. She said, what is it? Is it work? I was having maid issues at home. So she said, is it that? So she was trying to, is it like a friend issue? Like, what is going on? And I couldn't pinpoint what I was feeling. I just knew that it had a physical manifestation of sort of this pittish feeling in my stomach, not being able to understand why I would just keep breaking down every now and then. There were moments of, not wanting to get out of bed, not wanting to see anyone, just no motivation and no drive. And she instantly knew exactly what I was talking about. And she reached out to a counselor, Anna Chandy, and, you know, I think, you know, that's sort of how, you know, my journey began. But had it not been for my mother, who gave me those few extra moments to listen to me or to understand what I'm feeling or to recognize or identify the symptoms, I don't think, you know, I don't think I would have had the intervention at the right time. So through this film, I think what we're also trying to say is we do not expect people to instantly know what depression is or to understand what the symptoms might be. But I think as society to just become a little more sensitive and a little more aware of our surroundings and the people around us. If we sense, you know, not to say that, you know, people don't have moments of feeling sad, but I think what is very important for all of us to understand is that there is a big difference between feeling sad and being depressed. But more importantly, I think for us to just be a little more aware of our surroundings, of the people that we engage with on a daily basis, be a little more intuitive to what they're saying. You know, if there's any change in behavior that you see, if you see, I think, a prolonged sort of lack of drive, irritability, I think these are times as support, you know, as people who might identify these symptoms, I think it's important for us to be, you know, supportive, not with the intention of being inquisitive, but because you care.
Right. No, and it's incredible that you had the guts to come out to your family. You felt close enough to do that, and you had that support system. But, you know, there may be people who are feeling afraid, feeling ashamed, feeling frustrated. What would you say as someone who's been through it to someone who is struggling to come out but wants to share that, wants to sort of find that security and help? What would you say to that person?
For people like me, I would say that you are not alone. In fact, one of the programs which we'll touch upon later on that the foundation runs is called You Are Not Alone. I want people to know that they are not alone. You're not the only one who's experiencing this. 1 in 3 or 1 in 5 people experience depression once in their lifetime. It is a very, very serious issue, not just in our country, but around the world. It is the next big epidemic to hit the world, to hit our country. And, you know, so I think it's okay for people to accept and acknowledge that our body, our minds go through certain experiences, that you are not alone, that we're all in this together. We have to help each other out. And most importantly, that there is hope, which is why I'm here today.
Yeah. No, that's terrific. And, you know, you've obviously been through your journey. You took a big risk coming out in, you know, a very visible personality in a very competitive, visible industry. What are some of the things that you discovered or uncovered in your journey that are myths about depression or the stigma around depression that we can help break here, right? Things that people believe that are just not true.
There's quite a few, I think, to begin with, just the stigma itself. And I think it's my own experience that made me realize the kind of stigma that is attached to mental illness. It also made me realize as a person, as a human being, it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to have, you know, you might have everything in the world. There's no reason why depression happens to you. It can happen for various reasons, and it's okay. It's okay to have moments of feeling low or you know, moments of feeling weak or vulnerable, and it's okay to share your experiences with people. It's okay to seek help. I can speak for myself and say that, you know, I did take medication and it did help. I'm not saying that medication is the only thing. I think you know, it comes with a lifestyle change as well. But I think there's multiple factors that sort of come into into the cure part of it, but I think it's very important to acknowledge first. I think for me the biggest challenge was when I didn't know what was happening to me. But the day I met a counselor, the day I met professionals, the day I went to a psychiatrist, the day I was diagnosed, I felt like half the battle I had won, because I knew what was happening to me, versus in the initial months when I had no clue what I was experiencing or what I was feeling. So I think the fact that my mother was my support system, and she encouraged me to reach out. Of course, I found the strength eventually to go through with that and meet the professionals, to listen to what they were saying, to accept and understand what they were saying. And that was, I think for me, that was half the battle won.
You know, we're a technology industry and we've partly created social media at some level, right? What do you think about social media, and what do you think about the influence of social media on depression? You know, today people validate themselves by how many likes they get on a picture, as opposed to, you know, validation through other shapes and forms. What are your thoughts on social media and its implications on society today, and potentially on depression and mental health?
Yeah, I mean, I do think that, you know, social media has been a boon in a lot of ways, but I also believe in doing everything in moderation. And yes, I do believe that a lot of what we see on social media is a slightly glorified version of what our lives probably are. We choose to highlight, or most people I think choose to highlight all the positives. So I think for someone who's sitting on the other side and just consuming somebody else's feed, I think you end up feeling worse about yourself because you're only seeing certain highlights. Right. I do see few, but very few people who probably, you know, share maybe a slightly lower moment in their life. But I think it's important to consume it in moderation. We work in the field of mental health, and I think we know the advantages and disadvantages. And I think, yeah, I think like I said, I think moderation is key.
I want to switch gears and talk a little bit about the foundation. And, you know, so talk us again through the thinking, you know, why first the thinking of, maybe start before that, the thinking of coming out, right? You obviously were diagnosed in January 2014, you came out a year later. So why come out? Why talk about it so publicly and risk so much, one? And then talk us through the journey of why set up something that can sort of scale, institutionalize solutions to the problem.
To be very honest, I didn't think of it as a risk. I thought of it as a very, very personal experience that I went through, life-changing, if I may say. And I think my intention solely was, by coming out, if I could help save even one life, then I think the job was done for me.
I was telling Deepika in the green room that we have a lot of regard for the fact that she came out and to use her celebrity to bring focus to such an amazing issue. So that's really incredible. So thank you for that. But talk about the foundation. Talk about the setup of the foundation.
To be very honest, I don't think, I mean, the foundation sort of came up much later. I think for me, initially, it was really about just sharing my experience with people. I wanted people to know second by second, minute to minute, exactly what I went through, because then somebody else listening to an interview might be able to identify. And I've had a lot of people come up to me after that and say they've successfully treated depression and come out, you know, happily after having seen certain interviews or interactions. And for me, that was the purpose, because in a lot of ways, it's not tangible. In a lot of ways, there are no real signs and symptoms the same way I'd guess, you know, maybe some other illness has. So I think for me, initially, it was about taking people through what I went through in detail, for people to identify what I've experienced. And also to send out the message that it's okay. You know, I've been through something like this, and any of us can go through something like this. And that it's okay to seek help. Right. A lot of people acknowledge that they may not be feeling their best. But I think there is either their own stigma or stigma, pressure from family to not come out. A lot of people just don't make the effort to seek help. And I wanted people to know that, you should seek help. If your psychiatrist prescribes medication, that it's okay to take medication. And then, of course, I realized that, that there was so much more work to do in this field. And I mean, we're very, very new in that sense. We set up the Live, Love, Laugh Foundation in 2015. It's only been 3 years. And we successfully ran 3 programs. One was the campaign that you just saw. It is India's first ever public, media awareness campaign on mental health, which we launched last year. We do a school program called You Are Not Alone, which we've delivered in over 8 states, over 50,000 students, over 1,000 teachers, and that program has been extremely successful, and we plan to run that for many, many more years. Basically educating students and teachers about what depression is, to be able to identify the signs and symptoms. We also have a program, a doctor's program, called Together Against Depression, where we encourage general practitioners. I think a lot of the symptoms are a giveaway. And I think a lot of general practitioners fail to recognize these symptoms, because a lot of symptoms of depression are physical symptoms, but they fail to sort of link the mind and the body. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it is something that they touch upon in their curriculum while studying, to be doctors. But I think somewhere along the way, I think probably that is not the focus. So to kind of bring back the focus on the importance of the mind and the body, we wanted to start a corporate program, but we realized that there's a lot of work left to do in these programs that we're running currently. So that's what the foundation is doing. We also do a rural program where we've reached out to, we've basically covered the entire district of Davangere in Karnataka. And in fact, I visited them last year, and it was just so amazing to see how advanced they are. They have clinics that they run. We finance these clinics where we have doctors coming in, treating people who need help, and basically creating the awareness. But we actually went in to create the awareness, realizing that there is already a lot of awareness. It was actually pretty amazing to see how in rural India, to see the kind of awareness. Well, I wouldn't say rural India, I would say in Davangere specifically. The amount of awareness levels there really amazed me. I came back so hopeful, and to know that our job was just so much easier.
Why the name? Just out of curiosity, what's with the name? The Live, Love, Laugh Foundation.
For me, it stood for hope. I think it was very important for me in my entire journey. I think for me, hope is sort of very, very significant in this entire journey. So it was important for me. And I think when you use the word or the term depression, people feel like a weight on their shoulders, which it is if you've ever experienced it. But I wanted people to just feel like when we talk about depression, while it is what it is, to also know that there is hope and to give you a feeling of positivity. And somewhere, because I realized that it's also not just treating the illness, but also a lifestyle change, and to really live, love, and laugh.
Yeah. And how much time do you get to spend on it, Deepika? Obviously, you've got other professional commitments, so how much time do you get to spend on the foundation? Do you get to spend enough, the amount you like, or?
I mean, it feels strange to sort of answer this question, because to say that I spend X number of hours a day, if it's not productive, I don't think that would make any sense. I'm sure all of you are familiar with the term that I think success is, proportionate or equal to the beneficial footprint that we leave behind in society. So I think it's important for me to see actual change. I think that for me is important. When I go to a Davangere, when I see people saying that the frequent visits by the team has cured somebody, that for me is success. I think that for me is knowing that we're in the right direction and spending our energies in the right place.
I want to turn to a couple of questions on technology, right? So I'll just share some statistics again, which baffled me. India has only 0.3 psychiatrists and 0.07 psychologists for every 100,000 people in the country. Also, health insurance in India only covers physical illness and not mental illness, right? So given this, and given this paucity of resources and experts, what role can technology speak? We're speaking to a bunch of people who are technologists, who live and breathe this. How can we leverage technology to bridge this gap, perhaps?
I'm going to answer this question very honestly. I'm not an expert in the field, so I'm not entirely sure. I do know that technology can play a huge role at least in creating the awareness for sure. But I also feel like in my own experience, I can tell that touch and feel is very important. So physical proximity, physical presence, a one-on-one sort of, which I think to some extent technology is taking us away from that. So yes, I think it can help in a lot of ways. But like I said, in my own experience, I think to have people around me, their physical presence, that really helped me on my journey.
Yeah. So given your experience, there's no replacement to having that psychiatrist and that psychologist help you as opposed to sort of having a gadget, perhaps?
I know there are lots
that.
of, I do know that there are lots of tech-based, there are a lot of apps, and I don't know how successful these things are, to be very, very honest. I would have to do a deep dive and see how successful these, sort of apps are. But, I do think that I'm sure there are some benefits. But having said that, I think something like this, I don't think you can entirely cure with just technology. I think we will need the intervention of doctors, of professionals in the field.
And again, voices like yours, voices like the foundation can raise awareness, limited budgets in the budget this year for mental health, limited experts. I think creating awareness can create more resources, more money going to this. Let me turn to my last question, and then we'll open it up in the interest of time to the industry. The IT technology industry employs 4 million people, and if we believe what the World Health Organization says, which is 1 in 2 people will suffer depression, and I read 1 in 5, I apologize, and I read a staggering report by ASSOCHAM which said 42.5% of corporate employees suffer from depression. Let me repeat that. 42.5% of people. So effectively we're saying 1 in 2 people here perhaps is depressed, right? And so what, and that's not, I don't mean to make light of it. That's a serious and very concerning
I like
issue.
that everyone's laughing.
Yeah. And so what can we as organizations, as employers be doing? What can we be doing in terms of facilities? What can we be doing in terms of culture in companies? What can we be doing to help people address this? Because it's a serious concern.
I'd be interested in knowing how many of your companies actually have a full-time psychiatrist or a counselor coming in, or how many of you...
Is that enough or not enough? Is that clap say that's enough?
Okay, first of all, are we even aware of the fact that this is something that is important to us? After today or before this session?
Yeah, but are we doing enough? What do you think we can be doing better?
I would want to come back next year and know that these figures have come down drastically. I think that's the only way to tell that companies and organizations are doing enough. I think it's very, very important to address the issue. It is the next big epidemic. I cannot stress on that enough. And I think it trickles down. In fact, I want to, I want to make it sort of mandatory in my very small organization as well. I'm an organization of maybe 4 or 5 people, but I want to make it mandatory in my own organization now, where I want everyone to reach out to a counselor or a psychiatrist. I think that's very, very important. I think also the fact that for people to understand, for people in the position of power to understand that people with mental illnesses should not be treated differently. I think there is a lot of stigma also because if most people went to their boss and said, I need some time off or I'm experiencing depression, they're more likely to lose their job. Correct me if I'm wrong. So I think empathy in a situation like this, I think knowing that, I'm going to say we, are equally capable. I went about doing my work the way I would in any other phase of my life, completing my commitments, doing everything that I did, in spite of having this monkey sitting on my shoulders. So I think it's very, very important for people like us to not be treated differently, to know that we're equally capable. I think it needs people in the place of power to look at their employees with a little more empathy and to know that our place of work, we can only be successful if the people who work for us are giving their 100%. And if you have people coming in every day and clocking the number of hours that they're supposed to, but they're mentally not there, what's the point?
But Anna Chandy, your chairperson in the green room, shared a very interesting point that you were at your peak of your career and you were highly functional.
Yeah.
So you were depressed clinically, but fully alert and fully productive.
Yeah.
So at some level, that dichotomy also exists, that you can be very, very productive in your work settings and yet be depressed.
Yes.
I don't know if you want to comment on that.
No, like I said, I think, of course, I would physically, mentally, emotionally find it very, very hard to get up and go to work every day. But I guess it would be a lot worse if my boss said, you're fired tomorrow because you're depressed. I don't know how that would work. So I think it's important to deal with people who experience mental illnesses with a lot more empathy, a lot more, a little more heart. And I think it's really, really important for every organization to focus on mental health and to ensure that you have a counselor coming in, or psychiatrist coming in. Everyone may not want to disclose, maybe people want to keep it confidential and that's entirely up to them, but I think it's important to have that facility within every organization.
All right. So I'm going to open it up for questions, and we're going to stick to the subject of mental health. So I'm going to take only questions on mental health. Yeah. So if there can be a mic is there a mic that's going around? Why don't we start? Ashank, please. I hope those work. They're tricky. You have to hold them very close.
Is that a mic?
Yeah. It may be easier to get mics. It's going to take people a while to figure that thing out.
Technology?
It's a...
Check, sound check. You can use this.
We can hear you, but people behind you... I can repeat the question. Why don't we go ahead in the interest of time?
Yeah, thanks. Great initiative. I'll come straight to the question, as Rishad will stop me otherwise. We talked of technology, we talked of psychology, medicine, but I think our ancient scriptures have talked, may not be of this problem as such, but have talked about the concepts of non-duality in Upanishads or Zen Buddhism, has handled this problem much more harmoniously, much more non-intrusive way. So my question is, did you look at that as one possibility, or would you be willing to look at that, the great work that you are doing? I can very
Sorry,
confidently talk about that because I very feel strongly about that.
Sorry, look at what?
See, in our scriptures, Upanishads, people have talked about non-duality, Advaita, or in Zen Buddhism, in a similar way, in a different context. But that is much harmonious, non-intrusive way to tackle the problem that you have.
So in other words, alternative ways of
so,
looking at it outside
So my
of
question
medication,
was,
perhaps.
did you look at that, or would you be willing to look at that as one of the possibilities?
Are there alternative ways to solving the problem at some level outside of medication?
I wouldn't know, sir. To be very honest, I'm sharing my experience of what I went through. Are there alternate ways? Maybe there are. I wouldn't endorse it. I will endorse what I have experienced.
But did you try something else? You obviously saw a counselor. Did you try other methods of trying to find treatment outside of medication? Were there other thoughts or other experts that suggested maybe this can be another way to go down this route, given old, Indian remedies, so to speak? I guess that's the essence of the question.
I think, like I said, I think for me, frequent sessions with my counselor is what definitely helped. Medication definitely helped. But like I said earlier, it's a lifestyle change as well. So whether it's, we were talking about sleep earlier. So, ensuring that I get adequate sleep, ensuring that I eat the right kind of food, spacing out my work. There's various things, which is also one of the reasons why I chose to call my foundation Live, Love and Laugh, because I wanted the message to be just beyond depression. Yes, this is the field that we work in, but there is a lot more, I think there is a lot more that is required for one to recover completely. And like I said, I think it's an entire lifestyle change, it's a mindset change. If there are any, alternate therapies other than what I have experienced, I wouldn't know.
Let's take a few more quickly.
I have a question. So at what point in time did you understand that it was over? And I'm sure you would have certain symptoms that would occur again after you felt like I was over and I was done with it. How do you relate to it and think that it is not the same illness, so to say?
It's a great question.
Yeah.
I'll just repeat it. So, the question is, when did you know it was over, and how do you know when you're feeling something today, you're not feeling depressed again, right?
Yeah. I would say it was gradual. It's not something that happens overnight. But for anyone in this room who has experienced depression or knows someone who has experienced depression, you sort of feel a weight. You feel like clouded. You're not able to think straight. Everything seems like a burden. Everything seems like a chore. You're not motivated to do anything. There's no drive. And you're not being yourself. I mean, I know what I am as a person. You will know what you are as a person. You'll automatically know when you're not feeling like yourself. And similarly, when you start getting better, you will start feeling it. You start feeling, it's almost like, sometimes when you're in an aircraft and it's cloudy, but sometimes you break through that cloud and then you suddenly see the sun. It literally feels like that.
If it's okay, can we take a few more questions?
Yeah.
Hi, Deepika.
I'll take one here, then I want to take a few at the back as well. So
hello.
It's not a question,
Deepika?
Wait, I'm gonna, ma'am, please go ahead.
Thank you. It's not a question, but a big thank you. You have come out, and we in the organization at Scient, we have actually started with assistance programs to the employees, and the stigma which has been attached, because you as a celebrity has come out, a lot of people come out with their problems. So big thank you to people like you.
Thanks
a lot.
I want to take...
Good evening.
Guys, 1 second. Yeah,
To the right.
To the right. The gentleman on the right there, please. The one who's standing, yes.
Behind.
Yeah.
Good evening, Deepika. I am Flight Lieutenant Sridhar and I work with a lot of startups. The biggest challenge is failing at a startup. And most of them fail. And society does not accept failure. Over and above, you keep hearing these unicorns, success stories, and it adds to the weight. How do we deal with it?
I wish I could answer your question. I'm not a counselor.
No, but talk about failure, dealing
exactly.
with failure.
But I will talk about failure, and I will talk about...
I don't know how much you know about that, but you've been so successful, but do talk about it.
No. I think it's very interesting, sir, because I feel like I'm in a stage in my life today where I've been through everything, and I'm not afraid to fail. I'm not afraid to talk about the way I feel. So when people ask me sometimes how I'm feeling, I don't lie sometimes. I'm very honest. If I'm not feeling up to it, I'm like, yeah, I'm not having a great day. I think it's very, very important for us as people to understand that we have to be honest with our emotions first before we can even start a conversation with anyone else. Success, failure, these are all a part of what makes who we are. When I started off, I had one of the best debuts that anyone could have asked for. But I found out much later that a lot of people wrote me off and said I couldn't do my job well. But all of those experiences have made me the person that I am today. I think I, as an individual, take criticism very well. I try and, maybe that's the athlete in me, I don't know. But when someone criticizes me or pulls me down, that's a spring for me. I bounce back up like never before. So I think it really depends on, each...
And that's great. So sport obviously has helped you. Maybe you want to touch upon that a little bit. How has sport helped you deal with this, or if it has at all?
Oh, it most definitely has. I think sport has taught me so much. It's made me the person that I am today. It's taught me how to handle success and failure. It's taught me how to handle criticism. It's taught me how to handle stressful situations. All of that. But... I think we all fail at some point in our lives, and I think I look at it as what do we make out of those opportunities. There's something to learn from every experience that we go through, and how do we maximize that opportunity and ensure that you learn something from that and move on.
We'll take two
towards the left here.
I don't know where towards the left means.
To your left here. Yeah, thank you.
You've got to stand, whoever's speaking.
Here.
The gentleman at the back there.
So I'm Freddie. I co-founded Stumax. We deal with students generally. So there is this thing with every student. Generally, they go through depression with studies or academics, whatever it is. But how actually to open up? There is this one big thing. How to open up with some other person? How did you open up with your parents, or how did you do that?
Because like I said, I was okay to have those moments of weakness or vulnerability. I wasn't afraid of being judged. It's okay. It's okay to have moments of weakness. Please know this. It's okay to break down. It's okay to cry. It's okay to not feel your best. It's okay to not look great all the time. It's really okay. I don't think we should be so hard on ourselves. Sometimes I think there's just, society is hard anyway, but I think we should be, it's time we're, I think, slightly more gentler on ourselves and kinder to ourselves. It's okay to have moments of weakness and feel vulnerable sometimes.
We'll take one last question, if that's okay.
Hi.
Hi. Okay, we take two. We'll take the lady back there and then the lady here.
I'm here. I'm happy to take.
Hi, Deepika.
We're happy to go if you're happy to go.
Great,
so,
let's do it. As long as I don't miss my flight, I'm okay.
Okay. So my question is, you said you took support of counseling and medication. So when you're going through this phase, how would you know that when you stop your medication or you stop going to your counselor. It's actually your real body reacting to, you know, your illness, or when you stop taking medication, it won't happen to you again. How would you know that and be sure of it?
These are very technical questions.
Sorry.
I've been very tempted to study psychology. But I think your doctors will guide you. I think they're the best judge of your recovery process. You know, I don't think you should play around with that at all. I think as long as you're honest with them about how you're doing and how you're feeling, I think they are the best judges of when and how and so on and so forth, yeah.
So we'll go there then. The lady in the yellow, please. Yeah, that's you, lady in the yellow, standing.
Oh, the mic's not.
Mic, check. Yeah. Hi, Deepika. I am a proud mother of 2 daughters. And at this age group, we are talking about depressions. And it's so obvious that everybody at some stage would definitely undergo this phase. I want to understand how we can ensure that we develop the strength within our children to ensure that they will not fall in this stage of what we are at any point of their life. So as a mother, I want to understand if you can share some tips as a daughter, what you have expected from your parents, rather from your mother, to ensure that I can give that kind of
it's a great question.
Productive strength, thank you, to my 2 daughters. And I want them to be strong.
I'm so happy you asked this question, because I think the role of the caregiver in this situation is so important. I don't think I'd be able to come out of it entirely if it wasn't for the people around me. I think it goes without saying that I think to keep the channel of communication open, I had the comfort with my mother to confide and to tell her. So I think, I guess for you as a mother, I think to notice their behavior, their patterns, and to know that you have that relationship with them where they can talk to you, where they can confide, where they don't feel like they need to hide something from you. Love, nurturing, I think all of these things are very, very important. I think if you were to deal with someone going through depression, I think, again, love, nurturing, letting them know that you're there for them. I think people who experience depression need to know that there are a few people who literally are, you know, a step away or a call away. When I experienced depression, I needed to know that I had my immediate friends and family who would be there for me. I think it's also important to not leave them alone for too long, you know, so I think to be around them. So I think love, nurturing, just being attentive to feelings and emotions. I also think it's very, very important for mental health. You know, we were talking about corporates, but I think it's very important for mental health. We need this education in schools. We need our children to know that there is something like mental illness. What are the signs? What are the symptoms? Sometimes it's exam pressure. Sometimes it's peer pressure. You know, there's all kinds of things that can lead to depression. So I think it's very, very important for you as parents also to advocate maybe for your schools to make sure that mental health is a topic that is touched upon either as a subject or from time to time. We need to educate our students.
Thank you, Deepika. Thank you for being here with us. Thank you for spending the time with us. Thank you for being so open and so transparent. And thank you for a good conversation. I want to invite the Honorable IT Minister, K.T. Rama Rao, to please come on stage and present you
hand over a
token of
our
thanks.
Appreciation to Deepika. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a poignant close. We opened with Sadhguru talking about the bliss of ignorance. Yesterday we spoke about forgetting mistakes. And today we're closing on this note of lifting the veil on the ignorance and stigma that's attached to depression. please give a huge round of applause to Deepika and to the foundation. Thank you so much, Deepika, for joining us. Thank you, Rishad, for wonderfully moderating that segment. In a mad rush that we are in every single day, we often forget mental well-being. But holistic wellness is the answer.